Today we're going to review index function used in formulas in Microsoft Excel. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to start by typing into a cell equals an index and then a left or opening parentheses. And so as you can see, we have some reference here with two different options. So we're going to cover the first option and then we'll quickly reference the second option in a moment. And so these are the parameters for this function. And so the first one is array. And so array just talks about the data that we're going to reference. And so it could be a single column, it could be a whole range. And so let's go ahead and just start with a single column for the moment. And then if we do comma, then we can see we have our next parameter available, which is row number. And so if we just do 1, for example, here, we see the last one is in brackets, and this means it is optional. So we can just close our formula and see the results there. So we can see brand A, basic phone, now shows up. And so if we do 3, for example, we'll see it went to brand A foldable smartphone, which you can see is 1, 2, 3 is the third row in that data. And so now if we go down to 6, we'll see it returns the last one. And then to see an error real quick, let's do 7, which is not within our data. And then you can see now that we return a ref error, and it says invalid cell reference, which means one of our row or column numbers is outside of the data that we have referenced. And so let's take a look at another error we can have while we're on this topic. And so we're going to skip our row number here. We're going to leave it blank, and you'll see what happens here in a moment. And now we have a spill error. So it actually gives you a little bit of a highlight where that data would show up. So what's happening is it's trying to return the data from that. And so I can show you that real quick if we copy this formula and paste it over here. And you can see that it's returning all the data from our data that we referenced here. And so that's what happens when we leave that row reference blank, is it will try to return all the data from that data that we referenced. All right, so let's go ahead and find something now using our index formula. So we want to find smartphone sales for Q3. And so let's go ahead and combine everything that we've done so far. And let's just get our whole table here and see what it looks like. So smartphone sales in Q3. So we could just try to grab one of these, for example, this USA brand A smartphone. So let's go ahead and do that for the moment. So we'll just count the sales for that one. And then Q3 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so what we should return is 23 million. And let's see if that's the case. So there we go. So we used row 2, so this row, and then the 5th column, which is this one. So let's X out of that formula to reset it. And so that is the number that we're returning. And so if we want to go down one more to this one, for example, then we just want to change our row reference, which is the second one, to 3. And that should return 18. And if we want to scroll forward to Q4, let's just change our column reference to 6. And there we go. So now let's look at another one. So when I first opened this, we have this other reference here. And so what this does is it allows you to combine two arrays. And so we're going to use another parentheses. And then let's say we select our USA data as one array, and then comma, and then our second array. And now we can select within our reference. So this is combining these two. And you'll see at the end it has area number. And so what we're referencing is just within each block. And then we'll determine which block we want at the end. And so I'm not going to put in 6 here, because that's going to be outside. So I got options of 3 rows. And so if we want the basic phone, for example, I could do row number 1. And then if I wanted Q2, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we want the UK sales, I'd want area number 2. So I guess here we have the smartphone sales. So I could change this to 2. And so what this should return then, since we're area number 2, so we're returning this second section, we're row number 2, which is this smartphone row here. And then we're in column number 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be Q2 for UK brand B smartphone. And so let's go ahead and close this up and see if we get that. So there we go. So 36, which is Q2, brand B smartphone, and UK. And so if you wanted to cycle up to the USA for the same result, we just change that area number to 1, which should then return that 2.4 here from Q2 USA brand A smartphone. All right, so I know that was a little bit to swallow, but we're going to dig through some other functions that you can use this for, and hopefully that'll help it to make a little more sense for you. And this will definitely help as you start to use it in your own projects. All right, so next let's look at using index function inside of a sum. And so let's go ahead and open a sum. And so in sum, we can pick different numbers. And so let's start with a quick index here, and let's sum up foldable smartphones for both USA and for UK. And so let's select the numbers here, and then we just want row number 1. And then what we want to do, if we want to return all these numbers, is we want to do comma, but we can leave that blank. And if you remember from before, this would spill, but we're putting inside of a sum function, so it's going to keep it contained because it's going to sum it up. Actually, we don't need another sum, we need an index here. And then we're going to do this UK brand B smartphone, and then we're going to do row number 1, and again, comma, and leave that column reference blank. And so now we're going to get that total here, 100 million. And so if we just manually select these cells real quick and check out our sum down here, there it is, 100,859,000. That's a quick sum using the index functions there. And so you could just pick, for example, the Q1 on both of these instead of the whole year, and just do that if you use the full index there. All right, so let's look at the same thing with average. So we can do average function, open that up. And then again, it's very similar to sum. You can use different numbers separated by commas. And so we're going to use the actual filter function inside there. And so let's average the Q1 sales. So that will be index in this Q1. So this time we're going to flip this around. We don't want the row number, but we want the column number 1. And then let's do this again for Q4. And then we're going to skip our row number, so returns the whole thing, and then our column number, and then close out our formula. And there we go, 11 million. All right, so this will be very similar. We can do max sales in Q4. And so this one, we're just going to do max and then index. And let's grab our Q4. And then we don't, again, want to do our row number, but we'll do our column number. And then there we go. There's our max sales. We can quickly visually see that that is indeed correct. And if we want to do min, we can simply change our max to min and see our lowest sales was at $7.99. All right, and finally, to close up this video, we're going to look at index match, which is a way to match two different formulas together that makes the index function very powerful. So you can see here we have some drop downs with our Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 options, and then also the same with our phone models. And so first of all, let's just see what this looks like if we open up our index and then grab our data here. Now, if you remember, we want to put a row number and a column number in here. So the row number for for the basic phone, for example, here is row number 1. So let's rewind just for a second and look at match. So match, we take a lookup value. So we could type this in here. So basic phone, and then lookup array, which should be this here, and then match type, and then we'll do exact match, and this is returning 1. It's added that $sign just because we have currency in here. But the value for that match is 1. And so if you remember inside of our index, if we get our array here, so now what we've done with our match is we're returning 1, which would be our first row. And so we can actually do the same thing for our column reference. And so we can match Q2 and look at these headers here, do exact match with 0 and close this out. And now we're returning 2388 right here. And this is Q2 and basic phone. And so this is fine, but you probably don't want to update these every time that you need to see something different. And so what we're going to do that make this powerful is we're going to replace this string with a reference to this cell. And so now it's going to match whatever we have in this cell and look for in this product line. And then let's do the same thing with our quarters and reference our quarter right there. And so we're still returning the same thing, but now as we cycle through and select Q1, now this match is going to update to our quarter. And so if we look at this here, pull this out, go ahead and accept that correction. So it is returning 1. And so let's go ahead and cycle forward to 3. And you can see now it's returning Q3. If we go 4, you can see now it's updated 4. And so inside this index function, those matches help us to determine the correct data based on our selections right here. All right, so I hope that helps you to see how powerful the index function is in Microsoft Excel. And make sure to check out the coefficient add-on to be able to pull data into your project or to export data back to your project in, for example, databases and other third-party sources that you use to manage your business. Thanks for watching, guys. See you again soon.